Hello, everybody. This is Noah with another unscripted commentary. I am not dead. I survived the plague that struck my household, and it was a brutal time, but I'm alive, and I'm back at it. So here we'll kick it off with a question from Sophie. What is art? What do you think about the concept of separating art from the artist? When I was thinking a little bit about what art is, the thing I kept coming back to when I was thinking about this earlier was expression. Art is ultimately expression. Often it's expression of something that can't be articulated in any other way, right? You might have a feeling of intense anger, but how do you communicate that in a way? And that's art, the method of communicating that in a medium other than, directly saying it or screaming it at someone. It's this kind of abstracted expression. So that's kind of where I lean. I've been historically on the side of being a little too tight-fisted with my definitions of art, thinking certain things are not real art, kind of reserving that word for paintings and such. But as of recently, I've been trying to do better at not doing that, because I think that was a little bit of pride talking. I think, honestly, it makes more sense to say that art is a lot broader than I think it is initially. That a lot more beauty is contained in that. And it looks a lot bigger than that. For example, I say a good nonfiction book is art. Now, that's a major thing for me. That's a major step. And so there is an element of skill and expression, and your ability to adapt to a medium that, isn't natural to us as humans. Standard communication. Whereas like storytelling, writing, drawing, whether that be poetry or any of these things, or making video games. But these are types of art. Now, I have not studied up on my aesthetic philosophy, so if anybody wants to critique my take on this, you probably have more experience than I do on doing that. But that's kind of where I come from. Like that's kind of the stance I've taken and the attitude I've taken towards art as a thing. I think if you try to, close it off, you are, not addressing art. You don't have art that you're dealing with. Forgive my dog for barking. On the other hand, the second question is, what do you think about the concept of separating art from the artist? So if art is expression, right? How do we deal with artists who are maybe not great people, right? How do you deal with that? And what do you make of their expressions? And it's easy for me to say, you should separate the art from the artist. It should be easy. But I know it's been hard for me. There are certain pieces of art that I really admired as a younger man, and when I look back at them, I can't do it anymore. I know this might be stupid to say, but like Call Me Carson made some amazing YouTube videos. But then after, everything that came out about him, I can't go back personally. Like I don't know how to. It just doesn't feel right to me. Ravi Zacharias is a person who had an amazing influence on me. Public speaker, Christian apologist, and all that kind of stuff. Who did some of the worst things that I can imagine. And I can't go back. I don't know how to separate the person from that, right? But then I look at other stuff, right? Like I'm a fan of Kanye West's music. I've really struggled with the new stuff. Obviously, I haven't listened to anything since Donda really, other than a few of his singles. But I don't have any problem going back to his old stuff, and it's kind of strange. I wonder if it has to do with, to a certain extent, those things are already baked in. Like I didn't put Kanye West on a pedestal. I kind of took him as a human being who had flaws. And that's kind of how he presented himself as well, to his credit. And so when I saw that he had like flaws, I was like, yeah, obviously, like that's how it is. He's going to not be perfect and not express everything in a way that is going to appeal to my sensibilities or any sensibility at all. And so, how do I say this? There are going to be people that you don't like or you don't find to be good in the slightest, who are going to be able to express very important things in art that would probably be good to dig into and to understand. Does that mean that that person is a good person? No. But it is important. At the same time, throughout it all, don't put anyone on a pedestal, especially artists. Artists are often the most broken people, and the people who are struggling the most with, what's in front of them. They're often very sensitive to movements in the culture. They can feel very swept up into things, and so if you can keep that separation early, that's really important. But that's just something to consider. I don't know if I have a easy thing to walk away with this and say, like, this is the lesson of this. These are just some of these thoughts I've been kind of struggling with for a long time. And ideally, right, as somebody who makes things every once in a while, I do want people to somewhat detach. I want my art to detach from me a little bit, to float off on its own, almost like a child or something. Go live your own life. I'm so glad of the impact I've had on you, and I want to see how it carries you. But to a certain extent, I want a certain distance from the art and the artist, because then it can come into full expression. Man, I'm probably losing a lot of you, so I hope that makes any sense at all. But these are just some thoughts I've had, and thank you, Sophie, for the question. And I hope that kind of causes you all to think. So feel free to put something in the comments on what you think about all this. And if you have a question yourself, you, dear listener, please go into the description and fill out the form to put in a question for these videos. Your question will probably be answered. So I hope you all have an amazing day, and see you all soon.